The Chicago Bears have done it again. They have broken another young, promising quarterback talent. Caleb Williams, his spirit just looks broken. When you listen to him and his post-game press conferences after these losses, and you watch him during the games, you see a quarterback that looks deflated. You see a quarterback that has lost all of his confidence. And although statistically he's had a pretty solid rookie season, 17 touchdowns, only 5 interceptions, he's overthinking things. When you watch these games, Caleb Williams just looks like he's too much in his head. I saw him overthrow a pretty easy touchdown in the Bears' Monday night loss to the Minnesota Vikings, where he had Keenan Allen. I won't say he was completely open, but it did look like a pass that Caleb Williams could have completed for a pretty easy touchdown if he would have put it on the money. But instead, he just kind of sells it. And Caleb Williams, I think his biggest problem this year has been that he's been trying too hard to live up to the hype that he had coming out of college. He's been trying to be a superhero. He's been trying to get a big play on every single play instead of taking what the defense gives him. And that's why he kind of is somewhat responsible for the amount of big hits and the amount of sacks that he has taken this year. Now, it's not all his fault why the offensive line has allowed him to get pulverized back there, because that unit has been one of the worst in the NFL. Ryan Poles, I don't really get the hype with this dude as a general manager. I get it. Like, he made a big finesse when they traded away the first overall pick. The Panthers got Bryce Young, and he got DJ Moore, a few first rounders out of it. But outside of that, a lot of his personnel decisions have not really worked out all that great. Darnell Wright, their right tackle, he's up and down. He's not really that good. Anytime he gets matched up against an elite edge rusher. And Keenan Allen, he's a far cry from what he used to be during his prime with the Chargers. I don't even know if he's going to be back with this team next season. Roma Dunze has been nice. DJ Moore is nice, but DeAndre Swift, he's been up and down. The Bears just haven't really been a good team this year. And I thought, along with a lot of others, that coming in, Caleb Williams was really well set to have a great rookie season, because it was believed that this was one of the best teams that a rookie quarterback could have ever received. But, fast forwarding to now, I know hindsight is 2020. This is a terrible situation that Caleb Williams is in, because I want you to think about this. The key to a young quarterback's development is what? It's not just talent. It's about stability on the coaching staff, because the easiest way to ruin a young quarterback is to have him overcome several coaching changes. Justin Herbert is a phenomaly because he's had to overcome 3 new head coaches in his first 5 years in the season, and yet he still produces at elite level. When you look at Jameis Winston, who had to overcome several different head coaches in Tampa Bay with Lovie Smith, Dirk Cutter, Bruce Arians, look how his career panned out. Same thing with Marcus Mariota. He had several new head coaches and a new offensive coordinator doggone near every single season. So if you want to ruin a young quarterback's development, continue to swap out coaches. We didn't even get to the end of this season, and Caleb Williams is already on his second head coach and the second offensive coordinator. Thomas Brown was not the head coach who they had at the start of the season. It was Matt Eberflus. Shane Waldron was their offensive coordinator. And now he gets fired. Matt Eberflus gets fired. And now all of a sudden you got Caleb Williams with the coaching staff that didn't draft him. They were on the staff, but they didn't really have a big say in drafting him per se. So here we go again. Once this season concludes, the Bears are going to be right back at the drawing board, hiring another head coach. And going into year 2, Caleb Williams is going to have to learn a new system, new terminology, get acclimated to a new head coach. And it's just rinse, wash, and repeat with the Chicago Bears when it comes to how they continuously destroy their young quarterback talent. I'm not going to say that Mr. Trubisky was all that great, but he did have his moments. He did take the Bears to the playoffs, and if it wasn't for a double doink, Who knows how far the Bears could have went that year of how good Vic Fangio's defense was playing that season. And moving forward for Chicago, it's really pivotal that they nail their next head coach hire. I don't see Mike Vrabel being as good as a hire as what the media makes him out to be. He's a great defensive coach, but there's a reason why he got fired by Tennessee, because after Arthur Smith left to take that head coaching job with the Falcons, he whiffed on every other offensive coordinator since. Now, Tennessee didn't have a lot of talent on offense, the final years of the Mike Vrabel years down there in Nashville. But it's like he just isn't that great with offense. He's a good culture builder. He's great with the defense. But the problem with Chicago is not the defense. You should be prioritizing a head coach who can develop your young quarterback. Now, Ben Johnson is a really hot name. But just because he's a great play caller doesn't mean that he's going to be a good head coach. Look at Shane Steichen with the Indianapolis Colts. Yes, Anthony Richardson doesn't look like a functional starting quarterback, but the reasoning why they felt comfortable drafting Anthony Richardson so high was because Shane Steichen did a fantastic job when he helped Jalen Hurts reach that next level the year the Eagles went to the Super Bowl and lost to Kansas City. He also was the OC who helped Justin Herbert have one of the greatest rookie seasons in NFL history. So the track record that Shane Steichen had as a coordinator is the reason why Indianapolis felt he could develop Anthony Richardson. And not only is he struggling to develop AR, but he just isn't a good head coach when it comes to understanding situational football. And you can see the same thing happen with Ben Johnson. I would go after Jon Gruden. And I know that Jon Gruden is, a name that is really polarizing. He's kind of either you hate him or you love him. And things didn't really work out well in Las Vegas, his second go around with the franchise. But I believe Jon Gruden could be a great head coach hire for Chicago because, for one, in this situation compared to the Raiders a few years ago, he had to rebuild that team. The Chicago Bears are already a team that has enough talent in place that if you make the right coaching hire and you improve the offensive line, you could immediately make it to the playoffs and maybe be somewhat of a dark horse Super Bowl contender. He's one of the best offensive minds in league history. If there was ever a coach who could help Caleb Williams develop and reach his potential, it would be Jon Gruden, because Caleb Williams, if he reaches his ceiling, he's supposed to be the second coming of Aaron Rodgers or Patrick Mahomes. You mean to tell me that you rather swing with Ben Johnson, a head coach who is unproven, versus Jon Gruden, somebody who is at least going to be able to help Caleb Williams reach that next level? And the thing with the Chicago Bears is that you already gave it a run trying to hire a hot coordinator a few years ago when you hired Matt Nagy, and you saw how that played out. The problem with Jon Gruden is that he walked into a rebuild with the Las Vegas Raiders. The Bears are not in a rebuild. All they need is a good head coach, somebody that knows offense, somebody that can maximize Caleb Williams' skill set, and there's not a single head coach that's going to be available during this coaching carousel than Jon Gruden. The guy knows football. The guy gets along with all of his players. He may not get along with guys within the NFL, but there's never really been too many players that I've heard of that have had anything negative to say about Jon Gruden. This dude knows football. That's why he calls his podcast Gruden Loves Football. This dude is dying to get one more opportunity to coach in the NFL. And if the Chicago Bears were to hire Jon Gruden, I think that he will be able to be the best hired possible to get the most out of Caleb Williams. This dude just knows how to work with quarterbacks. He knows how to speak to a young quarterback, and he knows what it takes to develop one. He just is an offensive wizard. To me, hiring Jon Gruden is what the Chicago Bears need versus trying to get a guy like Mike Vrabel, who's a defensive-minded head coach, and trying to get a hot coordinator like a Ben Johnson. Just because Jon Gruden didn't work out in his previous stop doesn't mean that he can't work out with the Bears with the talent that they already have. And if Ryan Poles is this great GM, like how he's made out to be, you don't really have to worry about the misses in the draft, because Mike Mayock was responsible for those misses. He was responsible for getting Alex Leatherwood. I would love to see Jon Gruden get one more opportunity to coach in the NFL, and that last shot being with Caleb Williams, because he knows how to get the most out of a quarterback. Derek Carr had some of his best seasons ever when Jon Gruden was his head coach. He knows how to speak to a young quarterback's soul. He loves working with quarterbacks. I would love to see the Chicago Bears roll the dice on Jon Gruden. If I was going to roll the dice on the head coach that already has been around the block, that's experience, I would bring in Gruden, because I really see him being able to take Caleb Williams to that next level.